welcome back to Mom's Kitchen. I'm glad you made it here. Today I'm going to show you how to make homemade macaroni and cheese and boxed macaroni and cheese. We're going to compare the difference and I'll show you just how easy it is to do it yourself. But for those of you that like the box, and I'm going to tell you sometimes there's just nothing like the box. But we're going to go through both of them. I'm going to do the box first. I'll put a timestamp down in the description, so if you just want to skip over the box part and go straight to the homemade recipe, and I'll also put the recipe down in the description. Now, first of all, the box does make a much larger portion. What I've done with my homemade recipe, I don't usually measure anything, so that was a challenge, but I made it up where it's like a large one serving recipe. So if you're just sitting at home and you want a bowl of macaroni to go with your hot dogs or your ham sandwich, you can do that, and you can always upscale it. Just multiply by however many people you have and you'll be good to go. So let's start first with the box, and the directions are right here on the edge. What you need is 6 cups of water, 4 tablespoons of margarine or butter, of course this is butter, and 1/4 cup of milk. We're going to put the water into a saucepan, and you need a pretty good sized saucepan. I actually can't find the one I usually like for this. It's taller because this may bubble over at some point, but you know, we're going to deal with that. So here is 6 cups of water. And we're just going to put it right over here on the stove and turn it on. And we're going to wait for this to come to a boil. While I wait, I'm going to open the box and pull out the package of sauce mix. You don't need that right now. And there's our noodles in there. Sometimes I add a little bit of salt to the boiling water. You can if you want to. So I'll just put a little bit of that in there. Scientifically, chemically, that's supposed to make the water boil quicker. It's supposed to lower the boiling temperature of water. I don't know, but I do it. So while I wait for this to boil, now, as far as your butter goes, you don't have to melt this, but the warmer it is, the creamier it makes your cheese. So I'm probably going to pop this in the microwave on defrost for about a minute. You don't want to scald it. You don't want it to just, you know, kind of warm it up a little bit. And then when the water comes to boil, we'll come back and I'll pour the macaroni in. Okay, it's been at a boil now for about 5 minutes, so I'm going to test one. Just find yourself a noodle or 3. And usually I run them under cold water to cool them off a little bit, but and you're just testing to see. They're very hot. You're just testing to see if they're soft. And you can even taste test one. Perfect. So, turn your fire off. Now, you need to drain your noodles. I usually use one of these, take it over to the sink and pour it out. But another option, if you don't have one of these, you can just put the lid on it. You can also use this and just dip out your macaroni into the bowl you're going to use. So, I'm just going to run over to the sink and drain this. Okay, we're ready to mix it up. Now, the first thing you want to do is put your butter in, and I melted mine in the microwave. You don't have to. I at least cut it up into smaller pieces, because the trick here is to get all this stuff incorporated while the noodles are still hot. So put your butter in, and if it's not melted already, stir it around until it gets all melted. Then take your package of powdery cheese and sprinkle that around, and then we're going to stir this up. Get It worked in there really good. I know it looks a little crumbly right now, but the milk is what's going to make this creamy. Now, I also have let my milk sit out and kind of warm up a little bit, because if you pour ice cold milk into this, it's going to make the cheese solidify too quickly. So, let your milk warm up just a little bit, and then we're just going to stir and stir and stir. Get it all creamy now. See? That wasn't hard, was it? This stuff got me through college. And my husband. I don't know if he would have eaten a lot of nights without good old Kraft macaroni and cheese. And then you can pour it into a nice bowl. I like a bowl that is microwave safe and oven safe and what have you, so you can warm it up easily. Okay, so that is all there is to the box mix. Now let's look at how to do this all on your own. Okay, so we learned how to make it with the box. Now let me show you how easy it is. It's practically the same thing. It's just you have to gather your own components. So, and this is a, like I said, a single serving thing. In fact, I have this cute little dish. This is what I like to put mine in, because you can actually put this in the oven as well, and we'll talk about that at the end. So what you need to make it homemade is 2 cups of water, a half a cup of noodles, and I like to use the large elbows. You can use the small ones if you want. You can use any kind of noodle you want. You can use egg noodles. I have a friend of mine, she likes to make it with spaghetti noodles, cheesy spaghetti, so that's an option. Just whatever you want, any kind of noodle you want. I use the large, and that's a half a cup of those. We're going to need a 1/4 cup of milk, 2 tablespoons of butter that I've already started melting, because just like the other, it works best if all your other components are warmish. They don't have to be warmed, but just leave them sitting out while you do your noodles, and maybe put the butter in the microwave for a second so that it's warm. That way your cheese won't seize up on you. I have a 1/4 cup of shredded cheese, and this time I'm using the Borden triple cheddar. I like this the best, but any kind of a cheddar works good. I like a mixed cheddar. Milk, butter, cheese, noodles. We have 2 cups of water and a smallish pan, because this just makes a little bit. So I'm going to put my 2 cups of water in the pan. I'm also going to salt this water just a little bit, and then we shall put it on the stove and let it start coming to a boil. And we're pretty close to a boil now, so I'm going to go ahead and pour my half a cup of noodles in. And when you pour them in, give them a little stir so that they don't stick to the bottom. Then we're just going to wait and let this come back up to a boil, and these take about 5 to 6 minutes, depending on how soft you like yours. I like mine pretty soft, so at 5 to 6 minutes I'll take one out and taste of it and see if it's ready yet. Okay, we've been boiling for about 6 minutes now, so I'm going to take one out and taste of it. I'm going to have to go cool it off first. And yes, they are perfectly done. Not soggy, but really soft. So I'm going to turn the fire off. I'm also going to take this over to the sink real quick and drain it. Now, if you want to stir it up in your bowl, you can use like a slotted spoon and just dip it out, but I like to stir mine up in the pan, in the pot, because it keeps the heat. Okay, so here we go. Perfectly cooked, drained noodles. So just like the other way, I'm going to add the butter first that I've already started melting in the microwave, and I'm going to stir that around really good. Make sure it's all melted, and make sure all the noodles are buttery. Then I'm going to add my cheese. Now I have a 1/4 cup here, but that may be a little too much. I'm going to leave a little bit left in here because I can always add more, but you can't take it out. And you're just stirring around and letting this cheese melt. Okay. Once your cheese gets good and melted, we're going to add a little bit of milk to make it creamy. Okay, so the cheese is good and melted now. I'm going to add the milk a little at a time because sometimes you don't need the whole 1/4 cup. If you get too much milk, you just add a little more cheese. If you get too much cheese, you're just adding some more milk. Now it is going to be very thin right now. As it cools off, it gets thicker again. And certain cheeses react differently. Some cheeses you have to use more milk to get them all creamy, and some you don't. So I'm going to put a little more milk and stir that up, and then I'm just going to go ahead and top it off with the rest of that cheese. Okay, and then I'm going to pour it in my pretty little container here. And put my lid on it. And you just let that set for just a few minutes, and then I'll show you what it looks like when it's cooled off. So there you go. I have shown you how to make the boxed macaroni and cheese that makes, you know, a pretty nice size bowl of mac and cheese. And I've shown you how to make the single serving size of homemade that you can increase to your liking. Now after you get this, you know, all stirred up, and hey, if it's too runny, put a little cheese in it, but give it time for that cheese to settle. If it's too thick, put a little milk in it. Now also, if it's a little too thin, you can, if you put this in an oven safe bowl, you can put it in the oven and it makes baked macaroni and cheese. Just put it at 350 for, you know, 5 minutes. Watch it because the top's going to get brown. You can also take it and sprinkle some breadcrumbs or some panko crumbs on it, then put it in the oven, and it tastes really good. So that's just additional. You also need to add salt and pepper to this, to your liking. I like this because I can control the salt that's in it. As you get older, you have to watch your salt intake a lot more carefully, so that's important. But anyway, you've got the Kraft, which is perfectly acceptable. I have lived on this stuff for years, and there's still times when I'm like, hey, you know, I just feel like that. So we're not going to hate on the box macaroni and cheese, okay? We're going to be helpful. If we can't say anything nice, we're not going to say anything at all. That's your mom tip for the day. And the homemade is also great. So let me know how it turns out if you try these recipes, and I'll see you back here at Mom's next time. Thanks for watching. Bye.